I'm Jenna Morton.
And I'm Tosh Taylor.
And today we are so excited to be coming to you from the location. We are at Belliveau Orchard. And I am so excited because I just think this is one of those absolutely quintessential, perfect New Brunswick entrepreneurial success stories that everyone should know a lot more about. We're going to talk about apples, but we're going to talk about a lot more than just that.
And we will talk a little bit more than just Scout too, which is my favorite drink. It was a great summer drink, and now it's going to be a great fall drink too, I think. So joining us today, we have Sonia. And Sonia, this is her family's business. And you basically grew up on the orchard, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Eating the apples.
Eating the apples, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of Belliveau Orchard?
How it started?
Yeah.
So the first trees were planted in 1932 by a young man named Sébastien. So he went to the States to work, and he made quite a bit of money. So he came back to Memramcook, and he wanted to start something for his family and community to bring jobs here and a little bit of wealth, I guess. So he started planting apple trees, and that created jobs. Eventually, it was a priest that owned the orchard, and then he hired my grandpa, Louis Bourgeois. So then my grandpa started working there, and he got into a bad accident, actually. So they said he wouldn't be able to walk again, which he did. But so he was kind of at his lowest in his life. He had 4 kids. Like, how am I going to manage to, feed my kids? So he decided to buy the orchard. He had a few other coworkers that was like, yes, we can do it, we're going to help you. So yeah, he bought the orchard in 1967 actually.
Okay.
So it's been a little while in our family, and he basically grew the orchard bigger and bigger every year. But it was really a community thing. So the kids after school would come here to pick apples. I mean, pretty much, if you're 50 and up, you worked at the orchard at some point, and you live in Memramcook. So it's not exactly the same nowadays, But so that's how it started. My dad was always involved. He went to college to study agriculture, and then after college came in the family business with his brother Jean-Louis. Now Jean-Louis has the Petit Fruits, so he started his own thing. Yeah, so now it's only my dad that's the sole owner, but my brother and I are involved. Brother more apple side, me more the alcohol side. But,
I like that split.
And it also changed over the years. I mean, my dad innovated, did some value added with the juice. Then we can talk later maybe, but did some alcohol with the juice. So yeah.
That's what I like. I love everything that I'm learning about the orchard, because as someone who didn't grow up here, moving here, everyone talks about, come fall, you have to go out and pick your own apples. That's, I thought it was a kind of small little you-pick orchard.
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, this was an organization that was started specifically to help the community.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it was a business venture for this man, but he did it because he'd gone away. The Great Depression happened. He wanted to help the community, started this, and then every person who's taken it over has just added on to it.
Yeah, brought it to the next level.
Yeah, but kept that like community feel. Like when you were talking with us about, all the kids would come after school to help out. Like it's such a great story about how a whole community can come together to support a business because it helps everyone. It's not just some big capitalist idea.
Exactly. And because we are in the agriculture section, we actually help the school now. So we're involved in the Semer de la Vallée. It's they have a greenhouse in the school here in Memramcook, and they have a big garden. So last year they planted some veggies. They obviously harvested the veggies, made some soup, and they were going to sell it. But because COVID hit, they couldn't sell it, so they gave it to the Pédiatrie. So it's a local thing we have in Memramcook where they help families in need with everything. And so they gifted the soup, and that went into the community. So it's like different ways we're involved, and we try to help, and we want to promote agriculture as well. Like how it's important and how it can be fun and it can be a career, really. So
well, exactly.
And starting young. So.
Like you said, like your dad grew up with his father owning it, and then went into the agricultural side of it, and then you come along and take it from this other business side.
Yeah, which is different.
Now,
Yeah.
Which is just, it's so fantastic to see the way. Can you walk us through a little bit more of some of those changes that you guys have gone through?
Yeah. So when my dad came back from college, he has all these ideas. So he wanted to make everything. I guess you're so young and you want to. Yeah, you're eager. So he wanted to start a juice plant where we could press the apples that are not pretty or not good enough for they're eating apples, but it's not appealing to the eye. So he's like, he wanted to have value added. But my grandpa was a little hesitant. So he said, you got to start on your land. Like, I don't want to be involved. It's not. So he started where I grew up, my house. That's where it still is. That's where we press all the apples. And he started with the sweet cider. I'm not sure if you ever tried it. It's basically just fresh pressed apples. It's real apple juice.
Right.
No sugar added, no water, just freshly pressed apples. But that's what it started with. They would chase the markets across New Brunswick, and he knew it was big in Europe and everywhere, but here nobody knew about it. So it was like, so it took a while. Finally, 20 something years later, people drink it, but then
just 20 years.
Yeah, just 20 years, not a big deal. But then he's like, why not make alcohol with it? You know, like we have some raw material. That's another value added that lasts longer as well, like shelf life.
Yes.
You want something, because apples, it doesn't, but we have storage that I can talk about too, but storage facility that we can keep them for a year, but it's still not the same as making a drink that can have a year shelf life. So yeah, but it was hard to start a winery because New Brunswick was really closed off. Like, no, you can't make your own booze here. It's just, so that took maybe 10 years maybe to finally be able to actually produce wine and sell wine in this province.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were one of the first wineries that started. And we were making fruit wines, as we still do, with apples and pears that we grow here. Then we added some blueberry wine because we have to have a red wine. And what's more in Brunswick than blueberries?
Yeah.
So yeah, and then a few years after that, in 2014, we decided to make a cider. But that's because my dad travels a lot, and he saw that it was big in Europe and in the States it was starting, and he knew that the wave was coming our way, and like, what better place to make a cider than at Belliveau Orchard? Like, we have the apples, we grow amazing apples. So yeah, we launched SCAO in 2014, and it's been really good for us. People seem to just attach to SCAO and like it. I think it's easy drinking.
It is.
Yeah, it's simple, it's crisp. It's like you're biting into an apple almost,
It really
Sweet
is.
but tart, and
And something that you mentioned too earlier to Jenna and I is that there's like basically nothing in it. It is apples and it is alcohol, and that's for me, that's a huge seller. I don't like sugar.
Exactly.
So many ciders just dump the sugar in with it, and you guys don't do that, which is fantastic.
No, and a lot of people are hesitant to try cider because they assume it's going to be really sweet. Or in the past, it was not good because it was just people doing ciders at home. You know what I mean? So it was,
or warm.
It's a biochemist. Like, he knows what he's doing and the science of it. So no, just apples, no sugar, no flavors as well. A lot add flavors. We want to keep it simple and we want to be authentic. We are high quality, just good stuff.
And I love too that when you went this route and you did it, you chose a name that also has so much meaning and history behind it. And for the few people who might not know about that, what is SCAO?
Okay, SCAO, let's talk about SCAO. At first, I was hesitant. I was still in university. My dad's like, I'm going to make this cider. It's going to be SCAO. I'm like, what is SCAO? And what's the name? Like, why SCAO? But he was passionate about it. He really wanted to make it happen. So a SCAO, we actually have it in back. Maybe, I don't know if you can see. A SCAO is a boat. It's a flat bottom boat, and that's actually a replica of a SCAO that was in Memramcook, made with the wood from the SCAO.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's like quite amazing. My dad got that. He was so happy to have that SCAO here. It's like, it's really important to him. But so the SCAOs used to go up and down the Pickle River, so it's a part of our history in Memramcook, and it used to bring merchandise. So they used to bring some to Moncton or across in Hillsborough. So it was really, apparently every day you would see SCAO on the river. I'm too young to have seen that. But now it's weird because the river is not really used that much. Like, you have a few boats. Like, we went last year and brought some SCAO kegs to Moncton. That was really fun, but it's a thing you do occasionally. Or there's some fishermen, but it's not. But so it was a big part. He wanted to bring a little bit of the history back.
Well, like you said, like, people our generation and younger wouldn't know what that was like, and like wouldn't even necessarily know that word anymore if you guys hadn't put it on your cider.
Exactly. So, and I have a coworker, Guy, that's really into history and a lot that we do, like a lot of our wines, like Massey, it's all, we want to bring back the past a little bit and talk about, our community and
at the same time, you were bringing like incredible innovation and modern technology. Like, tell us a little bit about just how big this operation is, because I think a lot of people like me, before they come here, and even if they do come here to pick apples,
It's not, you
don't
know everything.
realize how
Yeah.
big you are.
Okay. Yeah, true. So this is just a part of the apples we have. So we have a few orchards in Memramcook, and all in all, we have around 100 acres of apple trees.
Wow.
That's quite a bit. Yeah.
Wow.
And every year we produce around 2 million pounds of apples. So yeah,
Blows my mind,
Just
that
just
number.
just 2
yeah,
million.
just 2 million.
Yeah.
So and we have a new packing line that we just installed last year that's super efficient. And so now we can pack around 10 million pounds of apple and sell 10 million pounds of apples a year. So
Unbelievable.
yeah, but it was perfect timing as well, because COVID hit. Staff, it was hard, and then we had this high-tech machine that could produce more and with less staff, which is important in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sobeys was crazy busy, so we sell our apples at Sobeys. So yeah, for us actually, March was one of our best March ever,
Wow.
which is weird.
And
We're one of the lucky bits.
But it's true, but it's so nice to hear that too,
Positive,
right?
yeah,
Like,
some
yes,
good.
some good actually did come of that.
Yeah,
When we were here last time too, like you said you make a bunch of fruit wines and stuff too. You've got pear orchards as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you come at this time of year, all of the produce that's out front is also grown by your family.
yeah, we grow some squash, some pumpkins, and yeah.
There's giant bins, guys. Like yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
Go
quite a
to our
big
social
deal.
media and look for the photos. Go
Yeah.
to their social media and
Yeah.
look for the photos. Because, yeah, you guys have, like, every color of pumpkin, all kinds of sizes.
Yeah.
And you've got just, like, the parking lot itself. It's not a parking lot
Not
anymore.
anymore,
It's a
no.
music venue. It's a
Yeah.
container pub. It's
Yeah.
like, you have just diversified so much. It's fantastic.
If we want to have something for everyone, basically, that's kind of how we word it. So our You Pick is more than just you come and you pick your apples. It's a whole experience. You can pick your apples, but then you can go and have a drink, listen to some music. The kids can play in the hay. You can choose some pumpkins. You have to try some pies. Like, the pie is really good here,
Oh.
apple caramel. Yeah, no. Every year we try to add something or make it better, I guess. Yeah, that's our goal.
I'm wondering, on that topic, you guys have had a couple different times where you've had, just kind of crazy events happen that you have no control over, like COVID. But even before that, you guys had recently one of those really kind of moments where you had this crazy thing happen and then you turn it into an opportunity.
Something positive again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this time of year, almost last year, Hurricane Dorian hit. So we were so stressed, we lost around 80,000 pounds of apples on the ground. So we're like, it's not the end of the world, but it's still, it's a lot of apples.
That's a lot
and
of apples.
we can't eat those apples technically. So we decided to harvest them to make a cider. So we called it Storm Cider. And it's been actually very popular. It's a little sweeter than our Scow.
Smaller can
It's
size.
smaller
Perfect,
can.
perfect little skinny can.
Yeah, it comes in 4 packs. so-
Higher alcohol content.
Yes, a little bit. A little bit. It's kind of too
I
easy to
noticed
drink.
that.
Yeah. So now that was something else that we try. Yeah, there's always challenges. That's the thing. I think because we're in agriculture, we're so used to having challenges every year. Like, it can be the weather. Like, this year it's so dry, but because we're lucky, we have good land and we always took care of our apple trees and they're resilient. We still have some quite big apples this year, but it could have been like tiny little apples. So no, it's always, every year there's something, and the weather is such a big factor that we always try to innovate and find ways to,
Just be on the ball.
yeah, you always need to.
What do you think, like, what's going to happen with the You Pick this season?
This
Because I know
season?
that's on a lot of parents' minds right
Yeah.
now, right? Like, can they come? What can the family expect when they come here? Or do they have to
Yeah.
just buy a bag of apples from Sobeys kind of thing?
So all year we bounce around, do we do the You Pick, do we not? And it was stressful to decide yes or no, but we said, okay, we're going to go ahead because it's a family experience that people enjoy and they do it every year. It's a tradition and we wanted to provide that for the community and the province. So so our goal was to make it as similar than the past few years as possible. So no major changes, and that everybody comes out of here with a great experience. So basically it's the same system that we have. On the weekends we have the tractor rides, Friday, Saturday, Sunday from 10 to 5. And You wait in line, then you buy your bags. But the different thing this year, the mandatory mask on the wagon ride because we can't guarantee a meter apart. And then once you're in the field, you can take off your mask, pick your apples as long as you keep your distance. And when you get back on the wagon, the mask again. But the store, it's a one-way, so people can practice physical distancing. And we have our bar outside that we extended our patio with the bamboo. So the patio is bigger, so we can accommodate around 100 and 120 people.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's great, because it is like we were here when it was busier, and there's space, there's room.
Yeah.
You're outside, which is fantastic.
That's the fun thing
right?
too, because we're a business that you can be outside. And we've been busy. We had 2 weekends. This weekend will be our biggest yet because it's end of September. People think apple season, but no, it's been good. Like people come out of here with a smile, and it's been a good experience. So that's what we hope continues.
And speaking of apple season in the end of September, we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording. What do people need to know if they have particular types of apples they're interested in?
Good question. Yeah, so what we've seen in the last year or so, people want sweeter apples. Our taste buds, and they know a lot about apples now. Like they know the variety they want, But the thing is, sweeter apples come later in the season. So if you expect to come here mid-September and have a super sweet apple, it's not realistic because the apple needs to ripen and the sugars in the apples only develop later on. So for like perhaps Honeycrisp, that's a very popular apple that we have at U-Pick now, it's usually typically early October and mid-October. So this year it's a little earlier because we had a warm summer. So we're going to start the U-Pick September 26 for the Honeycrisp. But yeah, it's just something to keep in mind that if you like tart, come earlier. If you like sweet, come later in the season. So
or
October.
Come twice. Do both,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. Some do that. Like I had some that came and I'm like, Honeycrisp just in a few weeks. Oh, we'll be back. So yeah, whatever works. But yeah, for sure, it's something to keep in mind that the apples, if you want sweeter, takes time on the tree to become a little sweeter.
And so how many different varieties do you guys grow?
We grow around 30 varieties.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but we also have some that we grow more. So like Mac and Cortland. But that's another thing that people don't realize. So we have quite a bit of Honeycrisp trees, but it's not an overnight thing. So we knew Honeycrisp were becoming, it might have been 10 years ago we started planting at least. But people assume that it's a few years, but it's at least 5 years for like from the tree to have a crop. So you always need to know what's coming next and what people want. So like we innovated, we knew people were going into the Gallo and the Honeycrisp, so we planted, and that's what we've been planting. But if farms stick to Cortland and Mac, that's kind of the past.
Yeah.
Like the Mac, it's like, it's an older variety where it's the elderly that kind of wants it, and it's okay, it's perfect to make juice, but it's not the future.
It's not. It's funny too because I have never liked Macintosh apples, but I've always been like a Honeycrisp Gala. That's exactly like you're bang on with that for sure.
That's what people want. That's what we realize, and that's why you always need to travel, see what's out there, and bring it back to your own farm. Yeah,
we when we came last week to go apple picking here, my husband the next morning I can hear him like running down the stairs to my studio, and he opens the door and he goes, "Where did you get this apple?" And I was like, we went to Belleville yesterday. He's like, "This is the best apple I've ever had in my life."
Wow.
And it was a Macintosh, and he's a Honeycrisp through and through,
True, but Macintosh fresh is amazing.
Yeah.
I had one, like any apple fresh. Like here, people is like, "Oh, what's a good eating?" I'm like, any apple you're gonna pick here is a good eating apple. Like you can't go wrong.
Picked it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just that I feel Mac in January or February is not as exciting. But
because they're not crisp, right?
Exactly,
like
it doesn't stay as in the skin.
So how does that work? Like we talked about that you guys have this great packing system. How do you keep your apples ripe?
Yeah.
Right? Like
No, so typically apples, if you would leave it on the counter, it would go bad, I don't know, in a few weeks or at least become wrinkly or whatever. So we have it's called a CA, Control Atmosphere. So it's a new building, a facility, I guess, that we built here. We have, I don't know, maybe 10 rooms at least. So it's big rooms where we put bins and bins, like I can maybe show you afterwards, on top of each other, and we close those rooms, and it's low oxygen. It's like low oxygen, 2% or something. So then the apples sleep for the winter. That's kind of how, so you control the humidity.
Didn't know you could hibernate fruit.
Right?
Exactly. So you control the humidity and the oxygen, so the apples, they stay the same basically almost. So then when you open the rooms, you take out the apples. Yeah, it's like a fresh apple. So that's why we can make a fresh cacao yearly, because we can press the apples yearly, and and that's how we supply to all the Maritimes for Sobeys.
Yeah.
So that's how we store our
I've
apples.
always wondered that, like, how do you keep them in apples, like, especially being local, like, they're not bringing in apples from California or wherever. It's always, you know,
yeah.
like,
and we
that's
buy
awesome.
a lot of from the farmers in New Brunswick, because we have the only packing line in New Brunswick. So most of the farmers, their apples come here and we sell to Sobeys. So
yeah.
yeah.
Again, it goes back to what we talk about all the time, but how New Brunswick doesn't talk about how amazing these businesses are. Like, you're huge. You're like, this is, see? So modest.
So humble, I know.
Yeah.
And I love it. I don't want us to lose that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want more people to understand just how incredible and innovative and cutting edge so many of our local businesses are. It's just absolutely fantastic.
I agree.
We're going to have to wrap it up very soon. So just like a little hint, what else is on the horizon? You guys are always adding new things, doing new things. Is there anything that you can give away that's not like a trade secret yet? Is there? Can we expect more varieties
of ciders?
Cider, more wine?
Well, ciders, we did a few limited batches because people, we wanted to just focus on Scow, because we see a lot of brands, they make 20 products or whatever. We find it confusing for the client, and you lose focus. So we said, okay, one cider, we do it great, but we do one. But then we're like, well, we have Evangeline apples that's like unique, and we should make a cider. So we started limited batch ciders, which has been great. But for the future, we think that maybe a lower alcohol or lower calorie drink would be something interesting. So yeah, it's kind of what we're looking into. But every project, I mean, it's a lot of research and it's a few years, but it's definitely we always have a little plan, I guess, or something behind, but we don't share all of our plans.
You
But
can't,
it's
secrets. You can't give it all away.
But there's always
that's
something.
Enough of a hint. That's enough of a hint.
I like that. Absolutely.
And my brother's a go, and my father's he's getting old, but he's not close to retiring. So, yeah,
perfect. And I think with you dealing with the alcohol stuff, you've got the right thing going on there. So that's very smart. Before we go, though, how are people finding you guys social media wise? How can they get themselves out here?
Okay, well, you can, so Verger Belliveau, so Belliveau Orchard on Facebook, Instagram, but we have a nice website too to have all the information about the U-Pick, about our products. That would be the best option. We also have Instagram and Facebook for our SCOW if you want to know more about SCOW and what we're doing. But yeah, so a website is best option, or Facebook. We do post a lot on Facebook as well.
Okay.
And obviously people can get your apples at Sobeys, get your cider at the liquor store. Are you just in New Brunswick, or are you in other provinces
With
as well?
SCOW, we're in PI with the 500 milliliter as well. But no, mostly in New Brunswick, but we're in the grocery stores and liquor stores with our wines and ciders.
Yeah, and your market here.
Yes, and this is the best place. If you want apples, like Sobeys, it's good too, but here is definitely the freshest. We keep them in the
And
so
you can
if you want to drive.
And you can smell the pie, exactly.
Yeah, I have orders to come home.
Yeah, with a pie. Well, Sonia, thank you so much for doing this. We're so happy to be here and to learn more about this amazing business too.
Yes, it like fills me with all kinds of like warm fuzzy feelings to talk about
That's
all of the things. But everything that you guys have done here is just incredible.
Well, thank you.